And we have the Secretary of State candidate coming forward right now, Deidre Dejear. She is. Oh, thank you. I'm going to just say one thing that when you talk to college students, and I'm the mother of a college student, usually you expect them to talk to you maybe about the congressional races, maybe about the gubernatorial race, but my son, he calls and talks to me about Deidre. So thank you very much for being here.
Her son is amazing. Any event that we go to in the Iowa City area, he's there front and center. But needless to say, I am so excited and thrilled about this race, and I have one question for you all. Are you ready for November 6th? Okay, I'm gonna ask you one more time, and I need you to put the pedal to the metal. Are you ready for November 6th? There you go. There you go. Awesome. You know, this enthusiasm that's in this room is so critical, because us in this room get it. There's this notion that voting is like stretching. You don't have to do it, but if you don't, it's gonna hurt later. And we know there's communities of people out here hurting. Those people who believe their voice doesn't matter, their vote doesn't count, the system's rigged. And we know that not to be true, because we've seen what the power of the vote can do. We also know the trials and tribulations that people had to overcome in order to get this right. Women, we've only been voting 98 years. I've got a mentor older than that. When we think about people of color and the trials and tribulations they had to overcome in the Deep South, I'm originally from Mississippi. And some of you all know me because I worked on the Barack Obama campaign, but before I knew of a Barack Obama, I knew of this woman called Maddie K. Washington, Yazoo County Elections Commissioner. She was a teacher of over 30 years, stands about 6'5". She's my grandma. And that was the very first race that I worked on as a high school student. And what Maddie K taught me at an early age, I worked on several races, but that one I didn't volunteer on. I was voluntold. And nobody says no to Maddie K, not anybody. And what she taught me at an early age was that it was so important to get people enthusiastic about voting. The reason why she decided to run for elections commissioner, like I said, she had been teaching. And at year 25, she was trying to get her students engaged in the process, and they weren't having it. So she said, fine, I'll leave you alone and I'll go find your parents. And she did just that. She got their parents engaged, and it began to trickle down to her students. That's something that's so important in this day and age when we're trying to get more people participating in our elections process. Our kids are critical. There was a study that was done about a month ago that was trying to gauge whether or not the incident, the tragedy that happened in Parkland, had any influence on 18 to 29-year-olds. And what we found was that voter registration had increased since Parkland. And in that increase, we saw Pennsylvania up 16%. Our neighbors in Minnesota up 4.5%. There were only 4 states that were down, and Iowa was one of them. Not only were we down, but we were negative. We know that the voter ID bill that Mr. Pate initiated and commissioned specifically carved our students out of the process. We know that our students, by the time early voting started in the primary, they were trying to figure out, where they were going to live for the summer, where they were going to work. They weren't worried about voting. They were trying to graduate and get their finals taken care of. We know when one voter is turned away from the process, it's an injustice on our democracy. Voting is the most fundamental right that we've got. The most fundamental right that we've got. We can meet in rooms like this. We can banter on Facebook, but at the end of the day, what draws the line in the sand is our ability to go cast our vote. And so as Secretary of State, regardless of people's political identity, regardless of whether or not they have a D or R or L behind their name, we just need people to vote. And I want to be the Secretary of State that does just that. So our students are included, so that our aging folks are included, our folks with disabilities, our seniors, and we can make that happen. And we can make it happen in the Secretary of State's office. So I need you all to walk your way down that ballot this go round. Our representative just told us we don't have straight party anymore. That was a part of Mr. Pate's bill. So we've got to do some work to vote, and we can do it. Hard work guarantees nothing, but without it, we don't stand a chance. And I know that the enthusiasm in this room is going to get people out to vote this year. Thanks again for having me.